we're advised by Rupa Goswami, and interestingly, about the Upadeshamritam, Srila Guru Maharaj says that Mahaprabhu, at different times, he's expressing certain things. Maybe he says some of these things more than once. Repeatedly, he expresses certain things. So Guru Maharaj says, really, Upadesh Amritam is Mahaprabhu speaking through Rupa Goswami. Rupa Goswami noticing that Mahaprabhu has a tendency to emphasize these particular things regularly, he's expressing them. Right? And there we will find one of the slokas, because it's, Upadesh Amritam, the gist of spiritual instructions. So we can understand everything there is very, critical. And there's only 11 slokas. One of them is about how to view Vaishnavas. And he says that for spiritually advanced people, when they see the Jamuna River or the Ganga in India, if there's some dirty things that have been thrown in there, that doesn't change their conception that this is that water that's descended from the lotus feet of Krishna, the lotus feet of Vishnu, come down into this world. It's, Prema, Brahmadatri, Krishna Prem in liquid form. They take the water of the Jamuna on their head, regardless of what we see objectively. This makes modern people nervous. Right? We're told, spiritually advanced, they won't hesitate. They're thinking. Guru Maharaj talks about Professor Sanyal, that where he lived, what they call Radha Desh, means where the Ganges doesn't flow. There, when he grew up as a child in their household, they'd have like one little bottle of Ganga water on their altar, and maybe a few times a year, a few drops would be taken out, and everybody, you get a drop, they'd take that on their head. So when he finally saw the Ganga, he almost fainted that what we were appreciating in drops is so valuable, this vast river with boats and a bridge going, he couldn't contain his joy. That was his way of seeing. So what Rupa Goswami is saying here, and try to at least understand the example, whether we have the faith to be like that, that's another thing. But understand again the principle, the example. So here Rupa Goswami is saying, they ignore, to put this in a summary maxim sutra, they're ignoring the objective aspect in favor of the subjective. That's what he's saying. Look past what you see objectively. Don't see with the external eye. Right? We talk of Shastra Chakshus, Jnana Chakshus. Means seeing through the eyes of Scripture, seeing through the eyes of the Vaishnavas. We want to see through the eyes of Rupa Goswami. So he's saying, don't focus on the objective aspect. Focusing on the subjective aspect, we're taking that upon our heads as worshipable. So that's his example. What is the parallel? Saying, when you see a Vaishnava, just as if someone had a physical defect, we would ignore it. Well, there's other type of defects. Maybe mental defect, intellectual defect, personality defect. He's saying, ignore that in favor of the subjective aspect, their devotional tendency. As Srila Gurudev said in his final time, in the summary, generous summation, he said, everyone has some fault, no doubt. said, big or small, that is not the question. He said, but who has a devotional tendency? That has to be recognized and respected. We, hear of those who, in Russia, they call it the Great Patriotic War, right? In other places, they call it World War II, same thing. Though to this day, those who fought in that war are honored, right? Because of their self-sacrifice. They were willing to sacrifice themselves for the greater good. And it doesn't matter, we could say, soldiers are revered worldwide in different countries around the world, that they made the ultimate sacrifice for their countrymen. So we respect that nobility. Does that mean that they were perfect people? Right? No. They had all the flaws and faults that ordinary people have. But because they were willing to sacrifice themselves for this cause, everyone's respecting and honoring them. Right? So what to speak if someone is sacrificing themselves for the ultimate cause? Krishna conception.